Hello, Lori.
I
Hi.
Hi.
Lynn.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Matt. It looks like we're all here. So, good evening, everyone. Let's roll along with the meeting here. First item of business is to introduce Megan Dewar, and we'll. So I'll ask Megan to say a few words to introduce herself, and then we'll go in turn around the meeting and each say a few words to introduce ourselves. So welcome,
Hey.
Megan.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here. I'm Megan. I've lived in Amherst for about 7 years with my family. I have a kiddo who's 9, attends Fort River. We're pumped for the new school. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm a creative art director at Chemex Coffee Makers. So if you need to make good coffee, I can hook you up. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited to get to work.
Okay, glad and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. David, would you say hello?
Hello, everyone. I don't think I'm going to say anything to Megan, who already knows me that she doesn't already know, but
Hmm.
it's good to see you in this setting. I'm also a parent of a Fort River student, um, going into, will be second grade at the new school,
Hmm.
um, a writer, an educator at the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art, and yeah, just probably after you, Megan, the second newest member. So I'm
Hmm.
also new to this, but excited to be doing the work with you all too.
Okay. Thanks, David. Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori Friedman. I let's see. I guess this is my third year. Maybe I'm going to my fourth year. In fact, I think I've been on this with this group the longest now. And I do consulting work, arts management with mostly with artists, and but my regular daytime job is working as a development coordinator at Jewish Family Service, Western Mass in Springfield. Um, and it's nice to meet you.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Lynn?
Yeah, hi, Megan. I've been on the board for about a year, a little over a year, and I've been in Amherst for 38 years. I had two children that went through the Fort River School and the Amherst school system in the 90s, and recently retired from UMass after 38 years as a graphic designer. So my background is fine arts, but I worked as a graphic designer for this long time.
Mhm. Okay, and Matt?
I'm Matt, also a Fort River parent, how I met Megan, and I've been on the commission for 9 months or so, I think. I'd have to check. And my background is, as you know, a lot in video and animation, but I dabble in everything that is creative, I think, at this point. So happy to be here. Happy to see Fort River parents so represented, past and present.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think we're really loaded that way. 'Cause I'm a Fort River parent also. My son Nick went all the way through from kindergarten up through. That was in the last century. So, Megan, just quickly, because we have been introduced before, I'm the chair. I've been on, I think this is my fifth year. Yeah, just starting my fifth year on the committee. Um, I have a PhD in French language and literature, but spent most of my career working in information technology and higher education and um, traveling around the country as a consultant and project manager. I had 81 college and universities as clients, and I am just glad to be off the road, be home, and be doing something different.
So
So,
great to meet all of you.
mhm. Okay, let's get to the agenda. Um, does everyone have a copy of the minutes?
I don't think so. Did you end up sending? I got the agenda. Was it with the agenda or did you resend it?
I sent this afternoon, I sent three items.
Oh, there it is. I've got it.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, if you take a moment to look that over.
Yeah, I have just actually two small comments. One is that um, there's an E in my name,
Oh,
uh,
I'm sorry, I keep
which
forgetting that.
comes and goes.
Yeah.
And I think that at the second bullet, when there's the comment about meeting with Paul Bockelman,
Hmm.
you have that Lori said that, and I think that was a comment that I made at referring back to the meeting you and I had with Paul. Maybe Lori knows that. Maybe I'm not right about that, but I think that might be a comment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay, I can correct that then.
And I have two small ones,
Hmm.
also name related. I've been a Watson many times, but it's okay. People reflexively do it. And then I think we adjourned at 8:15, not 7:15. Otherwise, it would have been a record-setting.
Record
Oh,
setting.
yes.
Okay. I'm getting pretty shaky with these things. Mm.
When actually I have one more little thing
Yeah.
under I guess this is still under the second bullet, the last sentence. He talks about, it says the commissioner spent approximately 20. I think you're missing minutes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Mm. Okay. All right. Any other changes, additions?
I guess I just have a question. I felt like at that meeting there was some like action steps that we were going to do. And is it like I think we might have decided that, Matt and I were going to meet and talk about that. And then I thought we were going to try to schedule a meeting with the town manager. Is that not something that you put in a minute? Because it's not,
I think actually they should be there.
I felt like, I was trying to find my notes, see if I could remember,
Mhm.
but I couldn't really find my notes. But
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, as I was racing through the transcript, I did note those things and all the files that I and a couple of others promised to send, and I ended up not putting them in there, but they should be actually. So I'll go back and do those.
I mean, for me, it helps keep me on track about what
Yeah.
to do.
Well, that's what minutes are supposed to accomplish.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to make those changes and then I'll bring the minutes back at our next meeting. Okay. So looking again at the documents that I sent, You should find one which I just got this afternoon from Paul Bockelman, which is a draft charge to the Percent for Art um, um, advisory committee. Do you see that one?
Mhm.
I was wondering where that came from.
Yeah, that just came in today. Very helpfully,
Mhm.
Paul responded on a number of the um, items for which we were awaiting his reply. I'll get to a couple of the other things that he mentioned there um, a little bit later on in the meeting. But for the moment, I propose that we do is we spend some time together looking um, at that draft and working on that. Does that sound okay?
Mhm. Yeah, I had one question,
Hmm.
Joe, is that it says that the composition or number of voting members is 7, but the composition is 9. So are there 2 non-voting members?
I don't know. I don't
Should
know whether that was intentional or not.
should there be 9 voting members?
It's I think kind of common for them to add non-voting members to some of these just to provide advisory level.
Student might be a non-voting member, actually.
Well, I don't know because the
I don't know.
seven
Yeah,
are accounted for in that composition.
for
I
the
I
state.
wonder if the other two are meant for something else that's not stated.
Okay. So maybe point of clarification on that.
Hmm. Okay, I'm going to try to find my copy of that and get it up on screen.
Yeah, I didn't, what's the definition of a liaison? That I wasn't sure what that meant exactly.
Well, I'm going to guess that it would be somebody designated to report back out. And I think to whom I think that's most likely to us. Um,
Oh, I wonder if that is meant to be like a town employee, much the same way we have liaisons to our commissions as well.
And there's 2 members of the Public Art Commission on so they would, I would assume they would report back to their
to
committee
their, yeah.
group.
Mhm. Okay, have I successfully shared my screen here?
Yes.
That's that's a question.
And does special municipal employees mean like the town planner would be available for questions and things like that?
Oh, I certainly would think so.
Did you meet with Paul Bockelman? Was it you, Tom, and Lynn did you
Yes.
meet with him?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was back in January, was it?
I think so.
Yeah, January 18th, I think it was.
And so is the idea that this committee would be formed and then um, this committee choose, would put the RFP out or however they term, whatever term they use for that, for the public art, the person who will be managing the project?
I think I think it works this way, and I say I think because as your question is implying, we've never really nailed this down. But I think there's somewhere here later in the latter part of this document we're looking at. Um,
Well, under charge, yeah.
yeah, under rep let's see.
Well, under charge,
Mhm.
develop says the committee will provide guidance to the Public Art Commission in developing a request for art.
Yeah,
Assuming that request for art is that's not
is
the position though. That's what
no.
No,
about
no.
about the position.
Mhm. Now, the way I read this, read re- the relationship of three entities here. There's the Public Art Commission, this special ad hoc committee, and then a project manager. And
Right.
the way I think this works is that the the um, this advisory committee is advisory to us, APAC, and that we issue the RFP, the call for artists, um, after having gotten the assistance of the advisory committee in crafting that call for proposals, and that the project manager um, ideally should be on board, hired and working in time to have a say in it also. That's my understanding and frankly my hope that it would go that way.
Might the project manager be considered a special municipal employee? Because they would be in fact an employee of the town, right?
I don't think they would be an employee. I think they
No.
would
Just be
Mhm,
be somewhat
mhm.
hired for a position, but not an employee.
Yeah, I think the I think the word special there does not imply payroll, not on the payroll. Um, I'm not sure. I should have checked on this. We, in fact, all of us as committee members might be in that category also, but I'm not sure.
I I've I don't know. Do you think that the person who's the project manager should be part of the committee? I mean, aren't they kind of the facilitator of the
Yeah.
committee?
No, I would not consider that person a part of the committee.
It seems like they need to be listed here in some way. I feel like we're missing something by not having them
Yeah.
identified.
I think the bylaw isn't super clear on the responsibilities of the Percent for Art Committee, and it seems like they're supposed to be established to help provide guidance for the art and liaison to the town.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I think who the driving force of getting a project manager or consultant hired, I think, is going to fall to this committee to because I believe we'd have to pull it up, but I believe the bylaw kind of specifies the makeup of the Percent for Art Committee is like town people and experts about art, not contracted paid
Okay.
folks.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's all. That's exactly right. The the wording in the bylaw, especially there's a little bit more detail in that wording in the 2017 superseded version of the guide law. And what that basically is saying sounds more like an art jury. And
Mhm.
my interpretation is that that was the sort of semi-articulated notion that was had as to, why would there be this advisory committee? I think the idea was more that they would serve, they would, I think the focus was on selecting the winning artist and artwork. I think it went that way.
Okay.
But as Matt points out, Um, the bylaw does not give enough specificity about what um, about a division of responsibility between the advisory committee and the Public Art Commission. The good news in that is that I think we can pretty much steer it as to our best judgment. But if you think of it this way, that let's say the end of April, we've got an advisory committee. They all get together and they've been told, through the process of being uh, interviewed or selected, um, basically what this project is about. But when they sit down together for the first time, they're going to be they're going to be wondering really a lot of things about what's this supposed to be, what discussions have taken place. So I think at that point, they're going to turn to us and ask for a briefing on that. Uh, and I think that's quite proper. It's actually inevitable, and there's nobody else who can really give them that kind of guidance. But I think what we want to do, in my opinion, is help them get their footing, and then they can dig in to make their contributions in advising as we formulate the RFP as kind of phase one of their work. Phase two will come once the responses to the RFP start coming back. But in that phase one, I think they're, I'm pretty sure they're going to ask a lot of guidance in what to do. So, for example, um, do we want to say anything in the RFP as to what artistic media we're looking for? Do we have a preference? Do we have a specification? Is there anything we want to rule out? Um, Also, where's this artwork going to go? What are we going to say in the RFP about it? Are we going to give the artists a choice between several different locations, either in the building, on the outside of the building, on the grounds? So I think those are some of the things. Those are just a couple of examples of of information that's going to be needed for the RFP. Also, what's the budget for the that that the artists, the applicants will be told is available? Most of these RFPs, if you go and look at samples, give a budget. Now we've got 250,000, but some of that's going to go for our project manager. Some of it needs to be held, I think, uh, as an administrative item for the situation where we might be, or the advisory committee might be choosing three, four, or five people and asking them to submit a more detailed proposal. And it's typical in that situation to offer a stipend to each of those. So we'd have to deduct that from the 250,000. But then there are other categories of cost associated with the project that we'd have to look at.
Well, I
Uh,
think I feel like we covered some of this last time,
yeah.
and I think Lori's if I
Hmm.
remember Lori's distinct point was like we really want this project manager to kind of manage a lot of that decision making. To
Yeah.
me, that's the next step, even before approving the draft charge, is kind of making sure we have those responsibilities defined, because I think we don't necessarily have all the expertise to even say what would a stipend look like or how should we apportion out that budget. And that's, I
Mhm.
think, the next step needs to be finalizing that job description that we I think that was months ago, I think, but
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
I agree. I think we're going to get, pulled into the weeds if we get into trying to answer those questions. My feeling is that the priority, even though I don't know if, it's exactly where it fits in terms of getting this to happen, is that we have that we get a call out for the project manager as soon as possible. And if we, I think if we have to wait until this committee is assembled, that's just going to take us further out. So I think if we have the person in place as soon as possible, they will really set this up and bring the questions to us with their expertise. And if there's something that we want to lay out prior to hiring that person, which I don't have a particular, I don't have anything that I think is important to like, saying where it should go or what the
Mm.
materials should be. I feel like that's something we can work through with the project manager. So my priority is to get a job description together for the um, project manager and to get the town on board to go ahead and put that out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Will the town be choosing the people on the advisory? We have submitted names, so have we done our part in terms of next steps for that piece?
I think as far as the the two art professionals uh, bullet there, we've submitted some names, but I think that Paul has said that he wants to advertise publicly as part of the recruitment for this
Hmm.
committee. Now, I don't know whether he extends that to the choice of an elementary school art teacher and high school student, or what notion he has of how they'd be selected. But my understanding, going back months and months, is that both he and some members of this commission at the time were not comfortable um, just going with names for the two art professionals, names that we would submit.
Okay, so does what is he's submitted this to you for us to get back to him with any comments? Is that the next?
Comments, questions, um, additions. This is, I think, genuinely open, and I think we've started to accumulate some questions there.
Yeah. Well, I feel like somewhere in here it needs to talk about a project manager.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like that's missing. If it's in its separate category or if it's under, you know,
I think it would be its own item, its own paragraph.
well, I think
category.
the charge itself only exists really to create the committee in
Mhm.
itself, and I think defining roles and responsibilities is like the next step after the creation. I don't know if Angela's still here, could shed light on that, but I think this is just a legal framework for establishing
Yeah,
the organization.
Okay. Just the committee.
Yeah, just to say like this exists and here's why, because it cites the
Mhm.
law and this is what it's going to do. Um,
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think
think that's right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think we need the documentation of the PM, I think is something that could come from us in like a brief format of the project. Like here's how we see it going. This needs to happen so that these things can happen. Um, but I think it all kind of needs to happen at once at this point.
I think that we could, and I'm curious what others think of this, add to this in terms of composition, not as a voting member, but as a non-voting member, the project manager would be engaged with this committee.
I mean, I think of them as being the facilitator of this committee or
I,
the chair almost. I mean, somebody has to be in, move the thing along, and it's not going to be one of us, I don't think.
I think in this case, the PM would view this board as a stakeholder, giving input to the work that they're moving along. So I think it's probably worth having them mentioned as part of the board makeup as a non-voting member. I think that's a smart move. But the relationship to me is really if this committee is going to be serving kind of as a jury and weighing in on all aspects of it as it relates to the town, it's up to the PM to make sure they're included and providing decisions at the right time.
yeah, I mean, my sense of the project manager is that they're going to come in and they're non-voting. They are going to, have the expertise to set up, a timeline, to set up a more detailed budget, that once that they will help write the RFP for the artists, the call for artists, and manage the applications, and then narrow down the presentation, hopefully for the commission, this group, the committee to then look at the work, discuss the work, vote on it, and then once the artist is chosen, to then, work with the artist and see the project through.
Mhm. I think word for word, I think that's exactly right. I would add one small piece that I think is also very important, in that the project manager, given the background that we've discussed that person having, which essentially means that they've run projects of this kind before, um, is is going to be important to be as a person who can advise the advisory committee as to the as to how realistic any one proposal is.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't think who else is going to have that perspective. So, for example, if somebody is building a brass sculpture in California and hasn't, provided for the shipping across the United States, or has put a timeline on a piece of the project that just doesn't seem to work. Who's going to have the insight to help with some of those things? I think that's in the scale of things, that'll take care of itself as long as that project manager is tucked into the project. But remember, we had to make the case a year ago or so when we were getting pushback on the project manager. We had to make the case for why was this person needed? What expertise, what role was there that we did not already have covered? And for me, that was one of them. And I think we missed that I think we, the town, missed that when the Poetry Boxes project was set up, because as far as I can see, nobody had foreseen what the process would be if there was a technical glitch once the thing was up and running. And that, in fact, killed the project.
Yeah.
And I would hope that we don't run into something of that kind, um, in this project. Okay, I've belabored that more than it's worth right there, but and I don't think we need to say it here, but I think it goes. I guess that if I could distill what I'm saying to one sentence, it is that we need that project manager's expertise to help the advisory committee assess just how reasonably doable each of the
Yeah.
projects is, in addition to the criteria that they'll be able to address.
Tom, did this come to you from Angela or from Paul?
It came to me um, it was attached, no, it came from Paul.
Okay.
Now,
My
Angela, I believe, was working with him in drafting it.
my recommendation would be that we write back immediately and say that this looks good. What we feel is missing is the project manager who will be hired and will be working directly with the committee. Um, and that we feel that it's of utmost importance to move forward with creating the RFP for the project manager so that they can be hired and ready to go. And that at the same time begin, that the town, if it's Paul, that he would begin the outreach to um, for the members for this to form this committee.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Um, can we can we package up what Lori just said as a motion that we can then vote on?
I move.
Okay, Lori's moved
I second.
and Lynn has
Yeah, I
second.
move
Go ahead.
that Tom, as chair of the committee,
Yeah.
that we charge you with writing back to Paul as soon as possible before the end of the week to let him know that we um, agree with what he has laid out for the charge for this committee. Um, and we think that the project manager should be added into the charge as a non-voting member,
Mm-hmm.
and that the RFP, if that's what they call it, for the project manager needs to go out as soon as possible, and at the same time begin, whatever work he is going to be doing to, the town, that
Mm-hmm.
he'll be doing on behalf of the town to uh, do outreach to fill this committee. So that,
Okay.
yeah. So I move that letter gets drawn up and sent to
Okay.
Paul.
And I will second that.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion before voting on the motion?
I'm all in favor, not, again, I'm new, so I don't know all the protocols, but my question with that is, do we want to suggest like a deadline for forming that committee? I mean, I agree that getting the message out and beginning to look and form this needs to be happening on both fronts. I don't know whose place it is to kind of create a goal or a deadline for that. But or does that come later?
No, I think you're right, David, and I've been thinking since our last meeting where you made pretty much the same point that that's a weakness that we've had and has contributed to the delay. So I'm going to, in writing back to Paul, I'm going to um, suggest uh, time targets, goals for this. And he, in fact, has opened the door for that because another thing he said in the email that I got was that on April 12th, there is going to be a meeting of the school building committee and where Percent for Art is on the agenda. And he would like us to participate in that meeting. And he told Lynn and me at the meeting we had weeks back that he wanted to use that as the launching point, the launch date for um, publicizing this call for the to populate the advisory committee. I think we can tie. I can tie that. I can say that that's the date we want to set for launching the call for to hire a project manager.
Yeah, April 12th is a Sunday.
Okay, then I better check that.
Do they meet on Tuesdays? Maybe it's the 14th.
Yeah, it could be. Let me see.
I would just add before we fully vote on the motion that I think in this message we should definitely outline some of the roles and responsibilities that we think this project manager will fulfill
Yep.
that no one on APAC or the Present for Our committee will be capable of fulfilling. I
Hmm.
think that'll go a long way to sort of speeding things up.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll do that. We've written to him on that point before, so I can find and revive those and include them. All right, thank you, Lynn. The correct date here is April 10th, 12:30 p.m. It's a Zoom meeting, and he's asking that we meet with him next week to discuss the presentation that we will make at that meeting on April 10th. So I'd like to get a couple of volunteers to come along with me to that. You can respond via email after this meeting if you wish. Um,
When is
Unfortunately,
that
I
meeting?
won't be able to join you. I'm out of
okay.
town
Okay.
for the week.
Mhm. Lynn, for the sake of continuity and for your interest and the longstanding interest in this, are you able and willing to?
I'm able to meet with you, but I'm actually away on April 10th, but I can meet with
Okay.
you to discuss
Okay.
my
That's fine.
part of the meeting.
Hmm. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. I will send out an email this evening after we get off the air asking for volunteers to attend a meeting yet to be scheduled next week to meet with Paul. And maybe we'll need to hear from Angela what days and dates he's proposing
Yeah.
before deciding that. But also, second item, who would be available on Friday the 10th at 12:30 to attend a Zoom meeting? So I'll put those two items out there. Okay. Side note, for what it's worth, I do not intend to be one of the APAC representatives to this advisory committee. My preference is to stand back in my role as chair of the commission. Plus, I'm also not an art professional, so I'd also like to make room for those of you who have better match with that label. Okay.
Yeah. I had said earlier I would be willing to be one of the people.
Yes, and I hope you can do that. Yeah. Um,
I actually think it would be, I mean, it's possible that I could do it, but I actually think since we have um, new members who have kids at the school,
mhm.
that would be pretty great to have
Yeah.
someone
Hmm.
who actually has a
Hmm.
child at school, really knows the school and um, the community. I think that would be great.
That feels very good to
I
me.
mean, you would have a teacher, but still, I
Hmm.
think.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's good. I'll 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 just take a second to inject here that despite the usual um, and sincere um, modesty that new members bring when they say, "Well, I'm just new here." I think that's actually an ace up the sleeve. I think that's a good qualification. Some of us have been grinding on this for too long, me in particular, and
Me
I
too.
think uh, I think there's only benefit in having the fresh views and intelligence applied to this.
I mean, I'm certainly interested. I'm really excited. I agree that of the folks who are new and are also parents, that's a really valuable perspective. Um, my only concern is that I want to make sure that I have enough time to dedicate
Hmm.
to it and to really, not have half-ass it to really be able to commit. And I think this goes back to like the clarity of roles and responsibilities.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know how granular we need to get at this point, but my mind immediately goes to, okay, so like how many hours a week are we thinking, or how many hours a month? Is that the kind of thing that will go into this ask for potential committee members, as well as, the project manager, um, just in terms of thinking of, you know, the kind of commitment that folks can expect to be making, which obviously also leads into the forums in which those folks will all communicate. Um, is that going to kind of replace or get built into this meeting, right? A lot of other questions. So just to say, I'm definitely interested, definitely curious, and also want to make sure that I have all the information I um need
Hmm.
to make a responsible decision.
Yeah, no, well taken. I think people who get interviewed for to participate in the advisory committee are going to ask that same question. And so I think it applies both here at home for us, uh, well, for people in our committee who become members, but for the others as well. My hunch is that it's going to be one of these committees where nothing happens for weeks on end, and then suddenly, it's a crunch. So, for example, if there's a deadline for when proposals come back, reading and assessing those are probably it's probably going to be a busy stretch, but
Mhm.
I don't want to get too far ahead of us on this. Okay, so I think.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested also.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think also as far as like time goes, it seems like a big part of putting together this committee is to really come at this thing as a group of people
Mhm.
doing it together. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's really helpful.
Well, we'd also have the option to reduce our meeting frequency here. Again, I don't want to get ahead of any discussion on that, but it's just a thought. Um, okay. All right. I think I've heard what I need to add in the drafting, and I'll go to the transcript of this meeting to make sure that I'm following it correctly. Do you have on screen, are you seeing on your screens my email from Paul Bockelman that's jumping up and down a little bit here? No? Okay. Let me let me go back here and mm, where are my Zoom controls?
There it
Is
is.
is it up now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so his item A was the draft. AB was the date and time for that meeting with the elementary school building committee. On the another of our agenda items on that, for want of a nail, what that's referring to here is his review of a document that we worked on over the last couple of meetings to create guidelines for gifted art, that is, art not solicited by uh, the Public Art Commission. And it arises, Megan, for your information, out of a project which was titled For Want of a Nail, um, which was a, a proposal for a piece of sculpture that would be donated to the town. And we had some procedural questions, and the town would have some legal questions about that. So we drafted a policy. So what Paul is saying here is that he's going to take that to the town attorney tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and then we'll get back to us with guidance for revision of that document.
So on Paul's question about a smaller committee,
Hmm.
I don't, I think probably the makeup is fine. I don't know what you get rid of if you were going to have
Yeah,
a smaller committee.
yeah. Does anybody else have a thought on that? I happen to agree with Lynn on it.
I agree with Lynn.
Hmm. Okay. And this last item here, business improvement district BID, that came out of a conversation that was in the meeting that Lynn and I had with him, and we had noted that the business improvement district has funded a couple of murals in town without us knowing anything about them. They are on private buildings, private property, so they're not strictly speaking part of our portfolio. But in keeping with that document, that policy document on gifted art, there are some crossovers. So, for example, the town has a design review board, and their part of their charge is to enforce aspects of zoning regulations, which of course involves private property. And one of their concerns, and one of the reasons they're called design board here, is that they are charged with, I'll say, keeping an eye on alterations to the appearance of the town. And so conceivably, there's this kind of murky zone where somebody might put up an artwork, let's say a mural, let's say it's a huge mural on a building that has a, commanding view or is viewed from everywhere in town or along a street and about which there might be some issue. So, just as an example, this conversation with the bid might touch on uh, the recommendation that they get in touch with us first before deciding to approve and fund somebody's public facing private art item, not because there's a strict or regulatory reason for it, but we want to sort of head off um, complications where possible. All right, again, I've made that sound perhaps more involved than it actually is, but you can see what Paul's recommending here is that we have an informal talk with the director of the bid, and I think by implication that we get sort of an understanding, a working understanding with them so that we can um, avoid getting ourselves into difficult situations. Anyhow,
Now, who is the director of bid? Is that John Page?
John Page, yeah. Now he told me the last time I met with him that he would be glad to have just some informal guidance because he too doesn't want to get into anything unfortunate or into a situation where we've got to try to run to catch up with what's already happened. And that so I think he's going to be very amenable to having this kind of conversation. And there too, I would like at least one other person from this group to come along with me to have that conversation. So let me add that as a third call for volunteer that I'll put in the email that I'll send. Again, pending availability, mutual availability. As I would really uh, like another pair of ears and a brain to see, hear, participate in, and assess the relationship with the bid and not have it just channeled through me. Um, okay, we're coming up right on 8 o'clock. Oh, I see what the problem is, Matt. I'm looking at a clock across the room that did not get updated for the time change. So it's saying 7 o'clock. Jeez. Why am I in charge of anything? So um, I have one last small update item for you.
Do we need to close the motion and vote on it though before we?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Do we have any more discussion about what we will call the Laurie Friedman motion? Nope. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you all. Okay, I had one last small update item, and that is that I was all ready and excited to have a new artist showing paintings as of last week. I can't get that person to respond to email, and that's gone on for a month or so. So we're sort of stalled there. What I will do is put out a fresh call for um, artists to exhibit there. And what I should do to follow up on that with you all is give you a list of the place of what I'll give you the text of what that call is and also the list of where it gets posted. So that becomes part of the background knowledge you all have of just how this works. And we're assisted in this by um, Samantha Given, who is the town's, well, I used to call webmaster. I think the title now is um, director of communications or something, manager of communications. She does a lot to help us push these postings out to various places. Okay. Um, there are a number of agenda items we'll just have to get to next time. Our own social media um, presence is one of them, and tied into that is coming to long overdue conclusion on our mission and policies document,
You might
which,
want to mention the art night thing because
oh,
that's
yes.
going to happen before we meet.
Okay. That, do you have what that date is? I think it's the 23rd.
I'm not sure if I do. 23rd is a Thursday, so maybe don't they
Yeah,
usually?
it is a Thursday.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that's the first Thursday of the month.
Hmm. All right, I'll find that and send it as a reminder. I think it is the 23rd. It is a Thursday. It is later in the month. I'm 90% sure uh that's what it is. So that's going to be the revival of, let's see, is this it? No, it's some other town. I guess, yeah.
Oh, there it is. That what's happening in Amherst.
Lots of things happening in Amherst.
Really.
There it is, Thursday, 23rd, runs from 5 till 8 p.m. downtown Amherst. There are, I believe, 10 businesses that are going to be hosting art displays. And so the deal is you just sort of walk around town, stopping in at each one. Some of them will have snacks served. Anyhow, this was real popular in the past. It was suspended when COVID hit, and it's been slow to start up again. But finally, again, it's the bid that did most of the work to do this. Okay, all right, so that's that reminder. Thanks for that, Lynn. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn for this evening?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. And please, a second.
I second.
Okay, all right, no discussion. Please
Um,
vote if you would uh, like to leave now and not have to be here for breakfast. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm glad everybody was able to make it. Keep an eye on your email and your trash folder, and I'll be sending you some stuff.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.